The eyes are empty, not angry, not excited, empty, like staring into a room where everything has been removed. This is the face of someone who has already made the decision. The outcome isn't in question. It never was. What you're looking at isn't confidence, it's certainty. Cold, mechanical, final. This is Mike Tyson at 19 years old, and what you're seeing isn't a young man preparing to compete. You're seeing the result of programming, years of deliberate psychological conditioning designed to eliminate everything except one function: destroy the target. And the question that haunts anyone who studies this transformation isn't about speed or power. It's this: what does it cost to rewire a human being this way? Michael Gerard Tyson learned fear before he learned anything else. Brownsville, Brooklyn, the kind of place where survival wasn't abstract. His father disappeared. His mother struggled. By 10 years old, Tyson had been arrested dozens of times. He was overweight, soft-spoken, bullied constantly. Other kids broke his glasses, mocked the way he talked. They could sense the weakness. And somewhere inside that humiliation, a calculation formed. Either the world destroys you first, or you destroy it. There's no middle ground. At 13, Tyson was sent to a juvenile detention center upstate, Tryon School for Boys, and it was there that a counselor named Bobby Stewart, a former boxer, noticed something in the damaged, angry kid. He introduced Tyson to an old man who lived above a gym in Catskill, New York. A man who understood that greatness didn't come from improvement, it came from destruction, the destruction of the self. Cus D'Amato was 71 years old, paranoid, obsessive, brilliant. His house had no television, no distractions, nothing that could interfere with the work. And Cus understood something essential about the human mind. If you wanted to create a champion, you didn't build on what was already there. You erased it. You removed the person entirely and installed something new, something singular, something without doubt. Cus didn't train Tyson's body. He colonized his mind.
Every morning started the same way. Cus would sit with Tyson and speak to him in low, calm tones, telling him what he was becoming: a destroyer, unstoppable, different from everyone else. These weren't motivational speeches, they were installations, code being written into the operating system. And Tyson, desperate for a father, desperate for structure, desperate to stop being the weak kid from Brownsville, absorbed it all. The training was relentless. Thousands of repetitions, slipping punches, exploding forward, hours every day. But the physical work was secondary. What Cus was teaching was a mental state, a zone where fear converted instantly into aggression, where the person across the ring stopped being a person. They became an object, a problem to be solved through violence. And Tyson learned to enter this state on command. Cus used to say the fight was won before anyone threw a punch. It was won in the preparation, in the weeks of mental conditioning, in the ability to remove every hesitation, every soft human impulse that might slow you down. And Tyson learned this better than anyone. He learned to collapse his entire existence into a single point: the target. Nothing else registered, not the crowd, not the noise, not his own pain, just the man in front of him. There's a concept in psychology called flow state. It's when someone becomes so absorbed in an activity that time distorts and self-consciousness disappears. Athletes talk about it. Artists talk about it. But what Tyson accessed wasn't flow, it was dissociation, a waking trance where Mike Tyson the person ceased to exist. Only the function remained. Seek, destroy, end it. Watch the footage from those years. Before a fight, Tyson doesn't bounce around. He doesn't shadowbox. He stands perfectly still, breathing, staring. And when the bell rings, he doesn't charge forward in rage. He moves with precision, slipping inside, cutting angles. Then the explosion, a hook to the body that doubles a man over, an uppercut that lifts him off his feet. It looks chaotic because it's violent, but it's not chaotic, it's surgical. This is what Cuss built.
A weapon that didn't think. It recognized patterns and executed. Tyson could see an opening before it existed. He could feel the rhythm of violence the way a musician feels a beat. And in those moments, Mike Tyson wasn't there. Just the program, the conditioning. Thousands of hours collapsing into seconds of perfect, terrible clarity. Between 1985 and 1990, Tyson was untouchable. 37 wins, 33 knockouts, 12 opponents didn't survive the first round. Grown men, professional fighters, were being destroyed so quickly it looked like a mismatch. But it wasn't about size. It wasn't even power, not entirely. It was focus. Tyson had no internal debate, no hesitation. When he saw the opening, he took it. And by the time his opponent understood what was happening, they were already falling. People describe it as a reign of terror, but terror implies randomness. What Tyson brought was the opposite: order imposed through violence, a brutal certainty. And for a while, it was perfect. Cuss had given him the structure, the identity, the mission. And as long as the mission was clear, Tyson was the most dangerous man alive. But then Cus D'Amato died, November 1985. Tyson was 20 years old. The man who had built his entire psychological architecture was gone. And without Cuss, there was no voice reinforcing who Tyson was supposed to be, no one maintaining the program. Tyson kept fighting, kept winning, but something inside him was already unraveling. The world started seeping back in, the distractions Cuss had trained him to ignore: money, fame, people who saw him as a product instead of a project. Tyson's personal life became chaotic. His marriage collapsed publicly, legal problems mounted, and the training, the discipline, the single-minded focus began to erode, not all at once, gradually, like a building losing its foundation one piece at a time. In February 1990, Tyson fought Buster Douglas in Tokyo. Douglas was a 42-1 underdog. No one gave him a chance. But Tyson wasn't the same. He was heavier, slower.
And for the first time, he looked distracted. In the 10th round, Douglas landed a clean combination. Tyson went down. He tried to get up, reached for his mouthpiece, couldn't find it. The referee counted him out. The knockout wasn't the real loss. The real loss happened earlier. It happened when the focus dissolved, when Tyson stopped being the weapon Cuss engineered and became a person again. And here's the cruelest part. Being a person was harder, much harder, because Tyson didn't know how to be a person. He only knew how to be a destroyer. And when there was nothing left to destroy, he was left with emptiness. The years after were brutal. Prison, failed comebacks, moments of brilliance followed by chaos. When Tyson bit Evander Holyfield's ear, people called it madness. But it wasn't madness. It was something sadder. It was a program glitching, a system built for one purpose, trying to function without it, and failing. People ask what happened to Iron Mike, where the focus went. But that's the wrong question. The focus didn't go anywhere. It was always artificial, a psychological construct, a prison Cuss built to protect a frightened kid and turn him into a weapon. And it worked, for a time. But you can't sustain that forever. Eventually, the human parts reassert themselves. The need for connection, for meaning beyond violence, for something other than destruction. Tyson has said years later that he doesn't know who Mike Tyson is, that the persona was a character, a mask he wore because he was too afraid to show the scared kid underneath. And that's the cost. That's what happens when you engineer a human being to be a weapon. You strip away everything that makes them human. And when the fight ends, when the arena empties, you're left alone with the wreckage of a self that never got to exist. There's a lot of talk today about focus, about discipline, about eliminating distractions and committing completely to a goal. And there's truth in that. But Tyson's story is a warning, because focus taken to its extreme isn't transcendence, it's erasure, the deletion of everything that doesn't serve the objective. And when the objective is violence, when your entire identity is built around the ability to hurt people, what happens when the violence stops? Tyson once said, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth." But the deeper truth is this: everyone has a self until they train it out of existence. And once it's gone, getting it back is the hardest fight there is. Harder than any opponent, harder than any title. Because you're not fighting someone else. You're fighting the absence of who you could have been. That image of young Tyson staring into the camera never leaves you. Those flat, empty eyes, the absolute certainty. It's mesmerizing because it's inhuman, and that's exactly what it was designed to be. Cuss D'Amato took a broken child and rebuilt him into something that could survive the most violent place on earth. He succeeded. Tyson became exactly what Cuss promised: unstoppable, terrifying, perfect. But perfection in destruction is still destruction, and when you sharpen a human being into a blade, you can't be surprised when they cut everything, including themselves. Tyson's focus was absolute, total, complete, and it cost him everything.